Welcome to another of my exercise videos. This one is a main exercise session, so it should come after a warm-up. It focuses mostly on the glutes, and we're looking at the hip area all the way around to the buttocks. So the walking muscles, your glute medius, and then round to the buttocks, which should take over from the quads and quite often don't. During this session, you might need a cushion or a block. We're going to put one between our knees. If you have one to hand, that'll be great, or you can just do the whole session without. So have that to hand if you've got it, and let's get started. We're going to start by lying on our side. So bottom arm stretching out underneath you. You can have your head in your hands if you're more comfortable. You can have a cushion there if you like. Top hand can be on the floor in front of you, or you can go straight to using your core muscles to balance and have it along your top thigh, or even hold it overhead. You could pull the wrist of it with the bottom hand even to create length through the top of your body. Whichever position you're in, have a look down and check that you can see both feet. So they're slightly in front of you rather than behind. And we're going to lift that top leg, and first of all we're going to grow it as long as we can over the bottom leg. So it lifts our waist off the floor and stacks the hips. So when it's nice and long, just try lifting and lowering it, and just feel that you've still got that gap underneath your waist as you lift and lower. So this is not your waist doing the work, it's this hip. Lovely. Let's hold that leg up, hip height or a little bit higher, and then point and flex it hard. You want it to be a really hard flex, so it lengthens your Achilles with every flex. And let's hold a flex, see if the heel can go even further away, and then we're going to circle the heel around a football-sized object, so make it quite a large circle. Heel always pushing away, and then try going in the other direction. If you're finding this very wobbly, you can always bend the bottom leg. Okay, and then let's leave that leg at hip height. There's an option just to lift and lower just the top leg, but if you can, we're going to lift and lower both legs. So we're trying to keep the same space in between our feet. And then hold both legs up, or just the top leg if you're only doing that one, and then either hold that top leg still or lift and lower the bottom leg. So that inner thigh of the bottom leg is working on its own here with a static contraction of the outer hip muscles of the top leg. And let's do one more, and then bring both legs down, and you should feel that ache in that jeans pocket area. So you can give that a good thump if it needs it. We're going to come back to that later and also do the other side, but we're going to give it a break and just roll over onto your front. So you're going to fold one hand over the other and bring your forehead down so your chin is tucked right into your chest, so your neck is nice and long. Your pelvis needs to be neutral on the mat or floor, so you might want to do a little bit of pelvic thrusting just to feel that you've got equal weight on your pubic bone and hip bones. Your pelvis front is flat on the floor. And keeping that as it is, just relax your shoulders down. So everything from your hip bones up now needs to remain the same. And the first thing we're going to do doesn't look like much, but we're going to alternately squeeze each buttock. So you just squeeze one bum cheek. So choose one, maybe the left. Give it a squeeze. Try and activate it. And then let's change to the other. And then change again. And then relax it, squeeze the other. Okay, let's do one more, no, two more on each leg, on each buttock. Squeeze, release, squeeze, release, squeeze, and last one, squeeze. So now relax both buttocks, and we're going to add a leg extension to each one of those squeezes. So I'm going to squeeze my left buttock, and then I'm going to imagine someone's pulling the heel of my left leg so it stretches out along the floor. And that buttock now, I can really feel activating even more. If you can add a lift, but you still want to keep that pressure of your pelvis equal on the mat. So pubic bone and hip bones always need to have the same pressure, and also right hip to left hip. So if that goes, lower the leg. So I'm going to lower that leg now, and I'm just going to stretch the other one out. And I'm going to add a little bit of a lift, trying to keep the pressure on each hip bone the same. And again, lower, release, squeeze, extend, add a lift. Try not to have any pressure in the leg you're not lifting. Lower, release, squeeze, extend, lift. So you might feel this very differently. Let's change down. You might feel this very differently from one side to the other. So one buttock may be far more effective at firing than the other. In which case, you really need to concentrate on that one that's not firing so well. Try and get it to fire. A good sign that it's not firing well is that your lower or middle back will be tensing up while you're trying to squeeze the buttock. Let's do one more on each side. Squeeze, extend. And last one. Squeeze, extend, lift. Lovely, and then bring that down. And in case you did feel any tension through the back, we're just going to push your hands underneath your shoulders and run your hips back, bottom to your heels, head to the floor. And what we're hoping for is that it just feels like you need to rest the buttocks, but not actually need to stretch through the back. So that's what you're aiming for. So we're going to do the leg lifts on the other side now. You can just turn around, but I'm going to swivel on the mat. So I'm facing the camera. And we're going to stretch the bottom arm. I'm going to stretch the bottom arm out underneath me. Both legs stretch out. I make sure that I can see both my feet. I'm going to plant the bottom one on the ground and then stretch the top leg out so it's at least as long as the bottom leg. And then I'm going to lift it and lower it and just feel that my waist doesn't lift and lower. Remember, this top hand can go into a balanced position if you like. And then I'm going to hold that top leg up and point and flex it. Hard point, hard flex. Try and make the point not a curling over of the toes, but a lengthening of the foot. So you press the ball of the foot away. Now hold a hard flex. See if you can go harder. Sometimes there's a flex and then there's a real flex. Really flex, and then we're circling the foot around a football. So this is quite wobbly if you've got a hand off the floor. You're trying to stay still from the hip up. Check that that foot is parallel to the floor, and we'll go round in the other direction. So hopefully you feel this starting to build up just in that lateral hip muscle. Okay, foot goes still, both legs lift and lower. So remember, there's always an option to just bend the bottom leg, and at this point, just lift and lower the top leg. You want to stay within what you can make work. And now we're going to hold both legs up, or just the top leg. And if you've got the bottom leg lifted, we're lifting and lowering it. Trying to keep it independent of the top leg. And we'll do two more. Lovely. And then we're going to lower both of them, and you can give that outer hip a bit of a thump if you need to. Lovely. And then we're going to roll over onto our back. And at this point, we're going to use the block or the cushion. So we're going to put the block or cushion between your knees. If you haven't got anything, then have your knees just slightly apart, and then when we're going to squeeze the block, you're bringing them as close together as you can. If you have got something, it's a good spacer, and it's also really something that you can grip hard on. Try and have your heels wider than your toes, so your toes feel like they're turned in, and your heels as close up to your hips as feels comfortable. Your chin is tucked in, arms are down by your sides, palms down. And then just relax your shoulders into the floor. And try to draw your belly button in, feel a closing between each hip. Take a big breath in through the nose. And a long, Hard breath out through the mouth. And feel that centering through your middle. Big breath in again. And long and hard through your mouth, and this time squeeze the block with that exhale. Breathing in. Release the squeeze. Breathe out. Feel that closing in of your pelvis and squeeze your knees together. So we're doing this without squeezing your buttocks. So try not to have any change in the pressure on your feet. And try not to squeeze your bottom. So we're doing all of this independently of your glutes. We're going to do one more of these, and then we're going to get the glutes to join in. So this one, bottom's not squeezed, squeezing your knees, feeling your pelvis tighten. And on the next one, the breath comes in, breathing out, you squeeze the block, and we're going to press through your heels and just lift your hips just off the floor. Now you could do all of this and use all hamstrings, but we're going to make it work for our bottom. So squeeze your glutes as hard as you can, squeezing the block between your knees or the cushion. And then lower down and release. Everything should go back to how it was. Breath in, breathe out, squeeze, hip lift. So your hips are up, your lower back is down. It's a hip thrust and a pelvic tilt. Squeeze, squeeze, and then lower. So now we're going to start to raise the hips up. So we're going more into a bridgey sort of position. But it's not, doesn't need necessarily to have your hips very high. We're going to squeeze the block, squeeze your bottom, hips just come off the floor, and then maybe ease slightly higher up. Still squeezing. Everything around your middle pulled in pretty tight. And then we're going to roll your back down, and everything relaxes. Breath in, breathe out. Squeeze, hip thrust, bottom squeezes. Maybe go up a little bit more. And then roll your back down. Okay, let's do 3 more. Roll down. Hold up while you breathe in. Breathe out as you roll your lower back down. Last one, we're going to hold this one up. So breath in, breathe out, squeeze your knees, hip thrust, hips lead to go up even higher, hold it here. So you're going to have your feet down, but try not to have much weight on your toes, if any at all. Keep the squeeze in between your knees and in your buttocks, and we're just going to sway from side to side. They just need to be very small sways. You're taking your weight from one foot to the other. And then we're going to stop in the center and roll your back down. So that last sway was just to make sure that each glute was working hard, because sometimes there's a bit of a lazier one. Lovely. And then let's take that block out and just have a big stretch to uncurl your lower back. After that, point and flex your feet. And then we're going to bring one foot in and then the other. And we're going to go back onto our side. So we're going to do bent knee lifts. We're going to have our knees right up in front of us, so they're level with your hips. And your calves are out, so they make a right angle at the knee. You've got a right angle at the hip. Bottom arm stretched out underneath you, or you can have your head in your hands. So just bring the top knee so it comes out over the bottom knee. So there's a little overhang. So you're overstacking your hips maybe slightly. And then imagine a big skewer has gone through your pelvis, and that is stuck. And it's going to stick there while we lift and lower this top leg. Straight up, as if you're 2 book covers. Up and down. And that leg is coming as high as it can without your hips moving. So if I just moved my top hip slightly further back, it would look a lot more dramatic. But as it is with that stuck pelvis, there's quite a low limit to what this top leg can do. And now we're going to hold it at its top limit. You can contract the pelvic floor to add a bit more pelvic floor action to this one. And then we're going to do 6 pulses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And bring that knee down. And if you felt it, get right into that glute medius again. Give it a good thump. And we'll go back to the other side in a minute. We'll come over onto our fronts first, well, all fours, and go back to another glute maximus exercise. So this one's going to be in all fours, and you can be in conventional all fours up on your hands, or if you'd rather not be on your wrists, you can be down on your elbows and you've got a sloping back. In either position, you want your shoulders down away from your ears and have a wide upper back. So you're pushing through your elbows or your hands to lift your chest away from the floor, widening your upper back. And then we're going to drop the lower back towards the floor so your tailbone is lifted. Toes tucked under unless that's very uncomfortable. Ribs lifted away from the floor. So we're in a nice, strong, all fours position to start. Then we're going to lift one leg. But before we do it, just have a look down, neck all relaxed, and check that the one leg that you're going to leave down stays more or less still. So ideally, that hip's going to stay right over the knee. And then we're going to lift the other leg. So just keeping the same pattern, the same right angle at the knee. And then we're going to press that foot up towards the ceiling, but without changing this nice, strong tabletop position that we've got, table position we've got with our body. And the knee comes down and presses up. Down and up. Down and up. So try not to move the back, and you just want to feel this as a squeeze in the buttock of the leg we're lifting. Okay, let's hold this next one up. And then we're going to do 6 more with the same leg. Down and up. And again. And 3 more. Last one, hold. And then bring that knee down, hip width away from the other. And we're just going to sit back just to come off our wrists for a moment. And feel free to go onto your elbows for this next one if you want, even if you didn't for the one before. And back we go into all fours, quadruped position. Belly button just slightly drawn in, ribs lifted, wide upper back, bit of a bend in each elbow if your hands are on the floor, head nice and relaxed. Okay, we're going to lift a leg without the standing leg moving. So we lift, and then bring the knee down, press it up, down and up. So the movement is coming from the hip down, it's just that glute. If you feel like you might be lifting and lowering your lower back slightly, or tilting your pelvis, then have a little break. Okay, we're going to hold the leg up, feel the burn building up in that glute of the raised leg. 6 more. 1, 2, 3, nice and slow. 4, 5, and 6. Hold this last one. Lovely, and then bring that knee down, nice and wide away from the other. Flatten out your feet, and let's sit back again, and you can go or just sit back, and if you were on your hands, press the back of your hands together. And then turn your wrists one way and then the other. Make fists. And we're going to do the bent knee lifts the other way. So we're lying out over the bottom arm, or head in your hands, knees right up in front of your hips. So most people go for a little bit too far away. So get them right up and calves out. And then bring that top knee out to an overhang. So it's just slightly over the bottom knee. It ends up, usually that they end up on top of each other by the end of the exercise or somewhere in the middle. So keeping that and keeping the whole shape of that top leg, we're lifting it and lowering it. So just lifting as high as you can without that hip rolling out. So if you see the bottom knee lifting along with the top knee, then give it an anchor down. So as the top knee goes up, the bottom knee anchors down, almost like they're both opening. Okay, we're going to hold this next one up. Contract the pelvic floor if you want to add on more there. And now we'll do 6 pulses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And bring that leg down. Give that glute a good thump. And we're going to finish off this session with glutes with a glute stretch. This one is in all fours. And again, you can be on your elbows if you prefer. Knees underneath your hips, and your knees need to be as wide as your hips or even a little bit wider. And then you're going to pick up your right foot, leaving the knee on the floor, and swivel so that the right foot is linked over the left calf. And then drop your lower back, lifting your tailbone right up, slide your right hip out to the right, and then back a bit. So that's it. You're going in a diagonal oblique stretch backwards and feeling a pull over your right buttock. So I'll show you that from another angle. All fours, right foot hooks over left calf, tailbone lifts, slide the hip out to the right and back. And then you can adjust. You might need to go further out to the right or further back, but you want to feel a pull over that glute. Lovely. And then let's do the other side. So, all fours, knees pretty wide, and then your left foot hooks over your right calf. Very important part of it is that your tailbone lifts, and then you get sliding out to the left and back. So you're sort of pushing on your right hand here to get that diagonal stretch over the buttock. So, and as with any stretching, during the stretch you might need to have just a little adjust while the muscle fibers slide over each other. Have a good breathe. Lovely. And then we're going to come forward. And that's it.